All right guys, now that we have our plugs in, everything on the outside has been flush trimmed and even and sanded, we're ready to go ahead and cut the top of the box off. And I said top, but what I really meant was lid. It will be the top of the box, but it will actually act as our lid, not our top board. So we glued our top board on, now we make the lid, okay? So we're gonna use the table saw to do that. I need to remove the guard, so I'm gonna do that first. Okay, now I'm gonna set the blade height. So when you come into the shop to do this, I'm gonna set the blade height for you and make the first cut, and then you're gonna do the rest of the cuts. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the highest part of the blade so that it is just less than the thickness of my board. Now it's important that you planed all of your boards the same thickness. If you planed your boards at different times, they're probably slightly off. Okay, so in the future when you're making a project, you want to try to plane all your boards at the same time that are going to be put together. So for example, our 4 walls, we would want to plane all those boards at the same time so the thickness is exactly the same. As we get further down the road with assembly, that's going to help, and with the cutting off of the lid here. So I'm going to set my box next to the blade. I'm going to lower the blade. Right about there. So I have just a hair that is going to be left here after I make my cut. Now I'm going to cut on the long side first to test this. If you did your holes correctly, and they are 2 inches down from the top and 1 inch up from the bottom, we're going to cut it off based on our plans, which is 1 3/4 inches. Now, if you had those backwards and you flip-flopped them, then we're going to go with 1 1/4. So you're going to have a shorter lid for your box. Okay, now I'm getting ready to cut. I want to talk to you about how you're going to hold your box when you push it through the machine. So when I'm cutting the long side, I'm going to put my fingers on the bottom edge of my bottom boards. Okay, so right here, pushing up against the fence. And my right hand or my feed hand is going to be on this top corner, pushing it forward. It's going to be a little bit different from when you stand up because it's top heavy and it wants to rock. Well, we don't want to put our hand on top because that's going to make that rock even more. So you're going to grab the inside of the box, but keeping your fingers back because we are cutting to the inside of the box, so we want to make sure our fingers are still back outside of that 4-inch margin of safety. Okay, so our hands are on the inside, and my right hand is going to be down here, just above the fence, pushing the back of the box, keeping that center of keeping my hands below that center of gravity so that I don't tip it forward during the cut. All right, so I'm going to cut the long side, which is what I would do in class, and then I'm going to simulate you guys cutting the other 3 sides. Okay, so at this point I shut the machine off. I double check to make sure that I'm not cutting too far or I'm cutting the right depth. It looks like I don't need to make any adjustment. It looks good here. So I would hand the box off to you and you would make these next 3 cuts. Now when you make these cuts, you want to make sure the top is up against the fence on every cut. In the past I've had students, after they make that first cut, they turn the box like this, and now they're making a cut through the outside of their box on the box side, not where the lid goes. So that really kind of ruins the entire box. So make sure that you're not spinning it around, you're spinning it top over end like this. You're just laying it down to do the next cut. All right, now comes the cool part, as if using a table saw isn't cool enough. We're going to go to the outfeed table here, and we're going to break the top of the box off. I'll show you. Okay, we're at the outfeed table, and I'm going to hit this corner of the box on the table. It doesn't matter if it's which long side it is, but we're going to hit that long side corner on the table like this. So I'm just going to grab inside the box. Neat, it didn't break. All right, so if this happens, then I'm going to come back to the table saw. I'm going to raise the blade a little bit more and do all 4 cuts again. This does happen sometimes. This happens more often when your 4 walls are not the same thickness. So let's go ahead and make a couple more cuts and come back here. All right, let's give that another shot. All right, here we go. All right, now you're left with these really thin pieces. So this is how thin of a piece that was left when we cut through the box there. So we're just gonna, if there's any left on your box, we're gonna bend those towards the outside of the box. I'm folding them back, and that will prevent them from splitting and tearing more material away. Okay, that's good. Same thing here. Just fold that in, and it usually comes right off. If there's anything left on there, I got a few little pieces that are left on there. You just take some sandpaper, like some 120 or higher grit, some real fine stuff, and just kind of knock that edge down. Just use your hand to hold onto that sandpaper. Don't use a block. Just kind of knock that down and soften it up. Okay? And then now we have a functioning box with a lid. So there you go. The next step, well, you have some options. You can either router the top with a decorative edge, or you can router the bottom so that we can insert the plywood into the bottom of the box. Okay? So I'll show you that in the next video.